The COVID-19 pandemic poses real health and safety challenges for administrators at colleges and universities. Some schools in our region have begun using a promising approach for detecting potential outbreaks.
Tens of thousands of students return to college campuses across the country this fall. With the growing threat of COVID-19, universities scrambled to find ways to keep students safe. The key to returning to a normal face-to-face college experience may lie in the ability to identify an outbreak of the virus early and take action to contain it before it spreads. Dr. David Larson is an associate professor of public health at Syracuse University in New York.
And we're going to be with this pandemic for a long time. We're at least a year and a half away from a vaccinated population. And so we have to learn to engage safely, socially when we can, and then to pull back when the transmission warrants.
Syracuse University is using an early warning system to try and detect the virus on campus. Prithvi Kilaru is a program manager in the university's Department of Public Health.
Sample collection bottle, battery. All right, let's go.
He's hoping to identify infected students before they can spread the virus to others by strategically sampling campus wastewater.
Whenever someone gets COVID-19, they actually shed the virus in their stool, and it shows up in the wastewater. So we're gonna open this up.
Traces of the virus can be detected in wastewater up to 10 days before an infected person starts to show symptoms.
And we get bits and pieces in the wastewater of the SARS-CoV-2 virus, which causes COVID-19. And we can take those little bits and we can analyze them in the lab to see, was there ever SARS-CoV-2 in the wastewater? And from there, we can actually pinpoint where it is because we're sampling at the dormitory level.
The first stage of sample collection is done automatically, daily and nightly, by a number of composite samplers running in nondescript boxes around the university grounds.
That's the sample right there. The box is actually unique. It's a wastewater sampler, a composite sampler that I designed and built myself. But what that box was doing was what every other composite sampler does.
Specifically, it pulls samples of wastewater from the campus sewer system throughout the day and combines 24 hours of samples into a single composite sample.
This is the sample itself. And that's over a 24-hour period. Overall, there's 96 collections because we're collecting every 15 minutes. We basically just swirl this around, and then we want to put it away from us because there's fumes generated when you shake this. So all we do, grab the bottle, we open up the container, transfer it to this. And the reason we do that is it's because it's the most representative of how people are using the system. But if we do it over a 24-hour period, we catch as many people as possible that are using that system.
Once analyzed, this wastewater should indicate whether anybody living in that building has the virus in their system. The university collects wastewater samples from 19 residence halls that house more than 6,000 students.
We have realized that wastewater gives you an early warning. It tells you something is about to happen. If you have an action plan for when you get that signal, you could be prepared, in some cases, weeks ahead of time, or at least days ahead of time, for what's about to happen. And if you have that early warning and you're prepared, you can mitigate some of these outbreaks.
If the virus is detected in wastewater from a residence hall, students living in that building are tested. Anyone that tests positive can be quarantined potentially days or even a week before they begin to show symptoms. Without the wastewater testing system, they could unknowingly infect dozens of others on campus.
You can then layer on testing to try to find virus, wastewater surveillance to tell us where to test, and aggressive contact tracing to contain the virus when it arrives.
As useful as this detection technique is, though, there are limitations. That's because, just like the virus can show up in the sample before a person starts showing symptoms, traces of the virus can also remain in the sample long after they've recovered. So when the virus is detected, there's still some uncertainty.
We can't say who has it, but we can say someone in that building has it or has had it. The reason I say has had it is because you can continue to shed the virus 2 to 4 weeks after you're infected.
Public health specialists say the key to using the data collected from the wastewater is to pay attention to the trend in the sample, not just the presence of the virus.
So if that trend line is going down, maybe people are recovering. And that's not as big a deal as if all of a sudden we have one number one week and all of a sudden it spikes up again. That might suggest that, hey, someone might be infectious right now and they're shedding the virus. And so we base our decisions off of the trend rather than the absolute number.
Keeping tabs on the virus helps students, faculty, and administrators make decisions that will protect their health.
My personal behavior is going to depend on what's transmission like where I live. And so if transmission is controlled, then we're going to do things like visit grandma, go to the park, open up the schools. And when it goes up, we can kind of scale back on that.
A number of other colleges and universities across the country, including the University of Arizona, Virginia Tech, and Eastern Michigan University, are turning to wastewater sampling to stop the spread of COVID-19 on campus. But the approach is also being introduced at the county level in wastewater systems around the country.
So if you found it in like a large-scale population, it's not feasible to test everyone. At the county level, what they can do is they can prepare for an outbreak using wastewater. So wastewater will actually give you an early warning whether to expect a spike in cases or not, and they can use that to prepare. But after that, it's mostly retroactive work.
Syracuse University is hoping this testing will help keep the incidence of the virus in check until a vaccine can be developed and new policies can be implemented to protect the health and safety of everyone on campus.
Nothing in the world has the capacity to disrupt our daily lives like an infectious disease pandemic. You know, if I had a crystal ball, I would guess that maybe a year and a half from now, we have a fully vaccinated population, we're back to a level of normal. Where I hope this takes us is to a safer place as a country and as a world where we institute systems and policies to keep us safe from infectious disease.
At Great Lakes Now, we aim to cover the Great Lakes region and the people who live here, like you. Please follow us on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and sign up for a newsletter at greatlakesnow.org.